My name's Molly. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Purpose, where we talk about just that. What's our purpose on this earth? Why are we here? And if you've been watching any of my videos, you know exactly what I think. I think my purpose, your purpose, everybody's reason for being on this planet is to learn to love God more, to get closer to Him every day, and to love each other. Love God, love each other. It's all we have to do. And it's the hardest thing in the world to do, and God knew it would be. So He gave us help. He gave us the Bible. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the Bible as a guide to help us figure out how to love God more and how to love each other more. And we left off with good old Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They ate the apple, their one rule that God gave them, and they blew it. Can't really blame them. I mean, He gives us two rules: love Him, love each other. And I don't know about you, but I blow that one all the time. So there were consequences, and we talked about those consequences last time, how God, I don't know if He punished them. He told them, okay, the rules of the game have changed. You changed the rules of the game. So now this is how it's got to be. And Eve was going to have pain in childbirth, and Adam was going to have to work to grow food. It wasn't just going to be available anymore. And they got kicked out of their home. God kicked them out of the Garden of Eden. They didn't have the beautiful garden with all the food and everything else to live in anymore. And not only did He kick them out, He put an angel with a flaming sword in front of it so they could never sneak past Him and get back in. Because God knows humans. He knows they'd try to find a way back into the garden. Can you imagine an angel with a flaming sword standing there at the entrance to the garden? There's no going back. They're not getting back in. And for years, I thought, kind of harsh, God. I kind of thought God was being a little bit of a jerk. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, they messed up, and now they can never go back home. They're exiled. They have to leave the Garden of Eden. They did. And I think the reason that upset me so much is because I mess up all the time. And I don't want God kicking me out of my home and sending me into exile. And then I found out why God kicked him out. There was a reason. So I told you the way you read these first 2 chapters of the Bible will set the tone for the whole rest of the Bible. For years, I thought God was kind of angry, and He was a little harsh and could be a little on the mean side, and He was scary. Now I know He is 100% pure love. He doesn't do anything that's mean, but there are consequences, and everything God does is to try to get us back to Him. Even when it seems harsh, it's His way of trying to get us to come back to Him. Adam and Eve had to be kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Why? Why did they have to be kicked out of the only home they ever knew? Pop quiz. What else was in the garden? What other tree did the Bible talk about? There was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that they ate the apple from, but there was a second tree in the Garden of Eden that they could eat fully from whenever they wanted. The tree of life. If they ate from the tree of life, they would never die. And now they have sin. Sin has entered their heart. They are no longer pure and innocent. And God knew if they stayed in the garden, they'd keep eating from that tree of life. Who wouldn't? And they would live forever in a state of sin. They would never get to be with Him again, fully, completely, 100% with Him. And God didn't want that. He wanted to be with them again, completely and fully. So He had to kick them out. Spoiler alert, jump ahead thousands of years, he would send his son on earth. God would come down to earth, take all of our pain, all of our suffering, all of our sins onto himself, and our sins would be forgiven. We'd be able to go to heaven. Without that, we couldn't. I don't really understand all the particulars of that, but God does, and he'll explain it to me when I get there. So they've been given the boot, they've been kicked out of the garden, but God still loved them. He kicked them out as an act of mercy and of love. And he took care of them. He gave them a new place to live. They knew they were naked now, which means what happens when you're naked. You're vulnerable, you're exposed, you're at risk maybe. You're fragile. I don't know. I can't think of any other adjectives, but you don't like it. He gave them clothes to wear made out of leather. So he protected them physically from the elements and stuff. So they had this clothing now. But something had to die. An animal had to die for them to be protected, to have clothes. He also protected them spiritually. He was still with them spiritually in their soul. He was protecting them spiritually. But in order for them to get back, something was going to have to suffer and die. Jesus, another spoiler alert, talking about Jesus there. So pain has entered the world, suffering has entered the world, death has entered the world, and it is not the same Garden of Eden that it used to be. Everything wasn't all rosy, but God's still protecting Adam and Eve. He's still taking care of them. He's still watching over them, and he's going to do everything he possibly can to lead them back home. And we know he's going to use his son to do it. He's going to use his son to have their sins forgiven and bring them back home to him. So that's kind of cool, don't you think? What lessons can we learn from Adam and Eve? As you're going throughout your day today, think about these stories that we've heard with Adam and Eve, and what lesson can you draw from them? There's been a lot of them if you go back and look at the previous videos. But for today, I think I'm going to think about how even when I mess up, and even when I change the rules of the game on God, and even when there's consequences for what I do, no matter how bad I mess things up, God is always going to be with me. He's always going to be trying to get me to come back to him. I can always turn around and go back towards him. And because he sent his son here to have my sins forgiven and to help me, I know to the very bottom of my soul that whenever I need him or want him, I can close my eyes and picture Jesus standing right beside me holding my hand, because he is. He will never let go of my hand. I might let go of his, but he will never let go of my hand, and he won't let go of yours. So that's what I'm going to think about today from our lessons with Adam and Eve. And I hope you've enjoyed their story. We're going to continue it next time with Cain and Abel. They're boys. Adam and Eve had some kids. What happened to them? Did they all live happily ever after as one big family? I don't know. We'll see. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.